if a parent loses a child, especially if a parent only has one child or two children, right? Losing a child is terrifying because a child and having children is so closely tied to our purpose of being alive. And if we're a parent and we lose a child, we end up like shocked, and it's like our life is torn away. Our identity and our purpose is now like blown whole and blown to bits. Yeah. Now, this creates all kinds of problems cascading down this neurological levels, from our identity to our values, behavior. We have problems on all kinds of levels and all lost because of this huge loss in my purpose or my identity as a parent.
Hi there, welcome to the replay of our after hours discussions with professional coaches. Your exclusive complimentary Sunday session for all of our community around the world, where coaching minds unite with our people to create real world results. I am Adrian Cahill, your host and founder of the Motivate community, and more recently, Monday Morning Motivation. As a global trainer in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, coaching, and hypnosis, this weekly gathering brings some of my colleagues from trainings, my fellow students and coaches all together in one place where we can discuss, share, help change the world by delivering free, quality information that's here to help you transform.
I was at a similar point with like Darko. I had opportunity, I had business, but I learned about coaching, and I thought coaching was fantastic, particularly the NLP that we do, but not just we do, just NLP in general, right? So in today's session, we're going to talk a bit about practical psychology, pattern recognition, and utilization. And we're using one of our models called Neurological Levels. And with this, I've been a bit caught out today. I was really caught and excited to be using ChatGPT to help me modify a couple of pictures. And I kind of made some infographics. So I shared one of the infographics in the chat window, but we're going to break through this model and how it can be used for pattern recognition, pattern detection. And it's making psychology that's practical. This is there's a lot more opportunity in here to talk about things that get more practical and more fast. So we're not going to get into long therapy sessions or long processes. This is more of an overview or a map. And from this map, you can look into making psychological changes or environmental changes or behavioral level changes. And that's what we're going to cruise through in today's session. The reason I picked this subject today is my background is a bit different. I was in the military for a long time, and I got to do some training in the army. Look, you can see the screen, right? It just doesn't show properly. Yeah. So a long time ago, I was in the army and I learned some leadership stuff, just a little bit of stuff. But we used to use a lot of coaching in the army. So in the army, we coached a lot. And I was actually responsible sometimes for coaching and training Australian and other nationalities in using equipment, being able to communicate over radio waves, over digital waves, a variety of stuff. And then I got into more of the NLP and how people's brain worked. I found myself traveling, and while traveling, pursuing this whole coaching thing. The coaching thing ended up being numerous years in Shanghai and in Australia, coaching online and training other people to do this magic. So I just wanted to set up a session which was a bit focused on actually doing and being a bit more practical. I didn't want us to be limited to a particular model. I wanted to open up a bit more. So what I was hoping that a couple of people that are here, or I don't know, Isella or Harry and Jay come on, what I'm hoping for is that we'll actually have a bit more discussion with this model. You see, some of the change work people do, some of the change work we can look at can be surface level change, and it can be deep level change. In today's workshop, we're looking a bit at what is surface and what is deep. How do we go deeper? How do we make practical change on the surface level versus making practical change on a deeper level? But what is a deeper level? What actually is a deeper level? Well, in our work, we use this neurological levels created by Robert Dilts. I think it was in the late 70s or 80s. But this model, its purpose is to help people that are learning psychology, people that are learning coaching, people that are learning therapy. So if you have any interest in developing yourself or developing others, this is a great model to have. With this particular model, neurological levels, it becomes like glasses. And when I look at people, or when I hear people, when I see integrative psychology or some different therapies or some yogas, when I see it, I kind of have this pyramid. It's like pyramid glasses. I can see that some people I do some yoga, right? And some people in the yoga are there for purpose. And they like doing the yoga and getting more aligned to their purpose. Yeah. And I know some people are there at yoga for their body, to get a bit of physical, or maybe to meet some people. There are various reasons people go here, go there, develop themselves. And some people get around trying to improve themselves in various levels. So isn't it useful to be able to go, those yoga classes are going to be great for people working on their, and these classes are better for people working on their psychology, and these classes are better for people working on their balance, and perhaps these yoga classes are better for people that are doing therapy. The same way with coaches. Some coaches might be really good at identity level change, or really deep change. And some coaches might be more on a behavioral level change. Making sense? I know it makes sense to Darko, so it's not best to ask Darko. Darko, can you manage the chat window? Because I can't see it. Now, let me know if there's anything in the chat window, or if anyone wants to ask questions. Now is an excellent time to ask away. So what we want to do is we want to be able to start to see through this filter. If there's nothing in the chat window or nothing comes up, that's okay.
Okay. There is still nothing in chat window. I want to share what's pop up immediately. I know we are working a lot on these neurological levels, but what shows in my background that this pyramid could be transverted. So at the up to the environment, and then going down up to the purpose. Because when you said go deeply, for me, deep mean going down. And, now like going deep.
That's beautiful.
It is true. Yes, that is.
I feel the same way, actually. I feel that very nice. And this also has the numbers on it. And I was thinking that this means that at the top is number one is purpose. And I don't think that's actually the top two. I think the pyramid can keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or it could be inverted.
Yes.
And I really like the inverted look as well.
Yes.
We're surrounded by our environment. We're surrounded by our environment, and we're there because of what we do, because of what we're capable of, because who we are, because who we value, and then we get to our little heart. in the very center of it all. Our purpose, our smack bang in the middle. But then from that smack bang in the middle, it can also come out the other side. As in, what's the purpose? What's deeper than me? Perhaps plugging into my family. Perhaps plugging out deeper to my community. Perhaps bringing out deeper to the human community. Perhaps going out deeper to the existence of humanity. Or maybe we could go out into include us as a human race versus, and include the animal kingdom, and But we're keeping it between these lines of purpose and environment, and you can definitely invert it, and that's totally fine, up, down, deeper, inside out. Occasionally we go above the purpose, like what's a greater purpose? But this is an absolutely wonderful model that I think all coaches or therapists should be printing out. No, don't print this out. We'll have a better one to show you. I'm going to move in and give you a bit more of an example of this, okay? This is an example. This is some of the stuff you might hear from people or your friends. Now, if your friends are talking about what's the point? What's the point of all this? What's the point of being alive? What's the point of being alive? Well, that's more like a purpose level question. What is the purpose of being alive? Well, what could the point of this be for you? So my natural way is I want to detect this language and hear this language in my clients, but I also want you to consider using this just for yourself. We often do coaching models, but you can use this to relate back to yourself. What is the point of your life? So when people come to me about purpose, I know a wonderful coach, and her speciality is in this purpose. And she actually made a bit of a niche here. It was Michelle Piem, one of our graduates. She was already a coach. She used the NLP to sharpen the axe. She helped people find their purpose. Yeah. Some people come because they're having a bit of an identity loss. And something around these levels aren't exactly 100% clear. So if there's a purpose thing, yeah, it might come down to other levels and it flows on down. When someone loses their identity, and this is a bit of a purpose identity. When an adult loses a child, if a parent loses a child, especially if a parent only has one child or two children, right? Losing a child is terrifying, because a child and having children is so closely tied to our purpose of being alive. And if we're a parent and we lose a child, we end up like shocked, and it's like our life is torn away. Our identity and our purpose is now like blown whole and blown to bits. Yeah. Now this creates all kinds of problems cascading down this neurological levels, from our identity to our values, behavior. We have problems on all kinds of levels, and all lost because of this huge loss in my purpose or my identity as a parent. A business owner going bankrupt, or a business owner going bust. Or it could be a business owner that's growing a business and the business starts running out of steam, or perhaps has a hiccup and the business owner loses connection with his identity as a business owner, or maybe the business goes bust, but the business can't go bust because it hits their personal identity. Another big identity crisis nowadays is people waking up in the world, people waking up to more of the illusions. A lot of people have these dreams and realities that they've been fed. The history that we've learned or being propagandized on TV. And often when people realize that what they've learned their whole life is propaganda, which if you don't leave your own country, most of your education and brainwashing is going to be propaganda. When you go to other countries, you get the recognition of it being propaganda. So sometimes when people travel abroad or start to see deeper levels of life, their old identity starts to like, oh, God. And I've seen this to some war veterans recently, like war veterans, and then the war veterans are going along, and then something happens like a war, and suddenly a lot of people question their identity. Who am I? A clinical psychologist friend of mine, his book's solid as hell now. in the last two months. It just the calls are coming up and up and up and up and up. So a lot of people have an identity crisis today. And then comes the whole, if we don't have a lot of certainty over our future, then what the hell is the purpose? So there's a lot of this purpose and identity level problems going on today. Making sense? But I'm just talking about it now from an identity or a purpose level. You could also talk about today's changes and struggles in terms of values. You know, maybe I saw Harold just come on me, and maybe me and Harold can argue and fight. Maybe I have left values and he can have right values. Yeah. We might have the same purpose and the same idea, but me and him can go different. We can go the left path, the right path, whatever the hell that means. Left wing, right wing. Two wings of the same bird. Right? So values. Sometimes people have problems with their values. And one of the problems is with this chaos in the world, it creates uncertainty. And I actually have a high value for uncertainty. I'm cool being in the unknown. Some people really don't like being in the unknown. They really value comfort and they want to be comfort. So some people value comfort so much, they might even shut their head off to reality. They may even hide from reality, put their head in the pillows or put their head in the sand because they don't want to have their identity crushed. Same time, people might just hire you because their child has passed away or they've hit a point in their life and suddenly they start to go, you know what? Material things are not as important to me anymore. And I don't know what is important. So they work for coach. Okay, it looks like there's been a values shift. The values in your life have shifted. So we can work on a level of values and stay kind of focused on this level of value, occasionally dipping down and up, but someone might have a really strong purpose. Their purpose is intact. They know their purpose in life. Their identity is a bit wavering. Something's happened, so they've got to adjust their values and find strength again. We can help people find, and actually in our work, we have deeper explanations and feelings with the word value. We should probably look a bit deeper at the value, what actually is a value, and the difference between values and beliefs. But let's pause there for a moment. So purpose, identity, values. Yeah. Our purpose in life, our identity, who we are. You could say your name. I'm Adrian, I'm a coach. I'm also a dad, I'm an investor, I'm a friend. Yeah. And I value holistic healing. I value love. I have a lot of things inside of me that I really value, like feeling good and smiles and stuff. And I believe in karma. So I believe in being good to the world and paying it forward. Paying it forward fulfills my values, helps me be confident and congruent with who I am as a person. I'm a generous dad. I'm a generous, caring person. And through that generous and caring, that's how I do my purpose in being here to make the world a better place. So there we go, a bit of an idea about purpose, identity, values, and a little bit of a hint on a belief. Have a look at Harold or anyone like to ask anything? I hope we can all just get a good understanding for this and how we can traverse up or down. We'll cover how we traverse up and down. And maybe you can see by looking at the last column there, one way we respond, and this particular response in the far right column is a coach response. The idea of coach response is like a positive. We label it positive. Positive response. And positive is moving people towards more holistic, more connected, bit more complicated perhaps, but a bit of a holistic big picture. We'll probably deem that as positive, like a greater net positive gain for being in the environment. You can easily do negative responses and make things worse for people, but okay, so the first time we meet with people, we might hear them operating on a level of values. And if someone comes to you specifically on the level of values, maybe you want to keep talking on that level of values. If someone comes to me it's incredibly unlikely they're going to say they have a value problem. One of the things we do as a coach is we kind of figure out where the problems are, and we figure some different ways to look at it. Yeah. So no one really comes to us and saying, I have a problem on the value level, but we can kind of hear it, can kind of get the feel for it. Okay, it's been a life change, that's going to be big. That might be coaching for 6 months, 6 years. If it's a small change, okay. Now let's go down to what could possibly be conceived as a small change. A smaller change where we're looking down from our purpose, smaller is down to identity, smaller to our values, smaller to our belief. In some way, a belief is like a small value. But actually the beliefs, I believe that our beliefs are a way of meeting our values. Our value is a feeling like love. Not the word love. Not the word love. There is a feeling inside of him. There is a feeling, perhaps a sensation, perhaps a meta chatter labeling, given some sensation and meaning attached to this thing, and I label it love. Yeah. So that label of love, what it actually represents is something inside that I'm trying to put a word to it, and I put the word to it love, or I might put the word peace, calmness, or happiness. I put a word to that.
Mm.
The words we put to it become the belief. So kind of the words we put to it become the belief. Like love is good. It's a judgment. Love is good is a belief. Yeah. I'm worthy of love. I need to do things for love. Whatever with love, I got to get love. Examples of love. She loves me because, yeah. A format we use for that is from Robert Dilts. He actually made this Neurological Levels. Robert Dilts is a great creator of models. He wrote down, and I've done this a few times, in the middle we have the value love. So the value could be love, but the belief is like an example of love, evidence of love, what happens before love, what love leads to. So we have like a whole system of beliefs around the value love. Make sense?
Yes,
so a lot of beliefs around the value. Now, Darko, could you share a little bit from your experience in your more recent work, how your integrative therapy can perhaps have some overlaps here?
I want to say that up to now, thank you for sharing this. So up to now, I didn't make such difference between values and beliefs. But now it becomes very clear to me that values, it is one, what we feel, it is one word, but everything else which comes after this goes to beliefs.
Thanks. I saw some neurological pyramids where they had them on the same level. And I spent a couple of days looking at, should they be on the same level and separate? And I went back through the books and I've done a little work on it. And I have that clear separation. And it is good, I believe, to have that separation. And I didn't deliberately set this up to match the chakra system, but 7 is one of these magic numbers. 5, 7.
Oh, yes. A good connection.
Yeah. And I've valued love now just as much as I did when I was 4 or 5. Maybe I will when I'm 90. Maybe I'll value love just the same. But my beliefs around it have certainly changed. My beliefs around love have changed. What love means, what happens before, what happens after, examples of it, my definition of it. This stuff has changed, but the core feeling of love kind of remains the same. Or maybe it has changed. It's like the core changes slower. The outside changes fast. Yeah. And often our deepest values are often our deepest kind of negatives or our deepest deficiencies. Yeah. sometimes bad things happen in our life and it creates a net negative where we believe we weren't worthy or we believe we were a piece of or something, and it's kind of trauma not having it, or maybe our mum and dad, or maybe our mum died when we were a kid or something. We end up becoming like a Superman or some kind of superhero, or maybe a super compassionate, caring person that gives so much to the community. And giving so much to the community could be because when they were a child, they didn't get love. Tony Robbins, perfect example. Thanksgiving, dad dirt broke, family poor. Someone came to their house with a donation, a turkey and stuff for the family, and Tony Robbins' dad kicked him out of the house and said, "We are not taking donations." Yeah. And then sometime later, they took the donation. The whole family was happy. And then sometime later on, Tony Robbins became the person that would go around the city giving out, chickens or turkeys on Thanksgiving. Now, when our values are met, things happen and change. So our values being in deficiency drive us. Seeking values drive us, but beliefs tell us how to get there. Beliefs show us the way. Beliefs are the map of understanding. So I believe I have to work really hard and I have to be a really good boy in order to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
Or I need to have a really fancy car to get a girlfriend. Yeah, I want a girlfriend, I really, really do, but I'm a young man. So if I'm a young man for girlfriend, I really got to get myself a fancy car. Yeah. Now, in order for me to get a fancy car, I've got to be able to work and make money. So I need a job. That takes us down from our belief to our capabilities. Am I capable of getting a job? Am I capable of getting a girlfriend? So I've got to be capable to do this. I've got to learn how to do this stuff. And I've got to learn how to actually do it so I can be it and, actually do the behavior to get a car, to get a girlfriend, or get the job and to move up, right? But in my environment, all the boys do it. They get cars, they get drunk, they chase girls, and they become the Aussie bogan. Sorry, a little bit of acting there. Sometimes people believe in love and they pursue love and they believe they're good enough and they just go on in life and they go on with other capabilities and they pursue their passions in life, and some people have the capability so that they might have the belief. Some kids, some people were blessed to have parents tell them that they could do anything, could pursue anything. They had an environment like that. So if kids and people have the belief that they can do anything, they might go out there and reach and actually go out there and stretch themselves so they develop greater capabilities. And we often talk about in NLP, especially some of our Darko sessions, meta learning, meta capabilities. So when kids have to go out there and get capable, if we help them be capable with the certain skills, they can become very capable. From their capabilities creates their behavior. Yeah. Now, I want my children to grow up in a beautiful world. I want my children to grow up in a really beautiful world, a beautiful environment where people are nice and friendly. So I got to create that world. Yeah, Darko.
I want to ask about the values. Are they something we have inherited from our family, or it is something which we are creating during the life? And are they changeable, or we need to live with them?
Mm-hmm. I believe all of that's pretty lucid, malleable, changeable. But I do believe there is a core download that we get. There could possibly be an initial download from the cosmos, depending on where the stars are and the signs are, and this creates a small signal. A really, really small signal comes in from the cosmos. That's why we have things like astrology. I was never a big fan of that work, but I did see some of it being highly accurate. But what I have seen to be more accurate and simple is the fact that when I was a child, when I was born, that whole first period, I was only around my mum and dad. I lived inside my mum. I heard my mum with my dad. I had an older sister, so I heard her for the first 9 months in my mum's womb. I was exposed to my mum's heart, to my mum's body. I was part of my friggin' mum for 9 months until I had enough identity and enough of me to come out of that. You know, and by the time I came out of that thing, I spent the next, months tightly wrapped and just connected to people and family. And in the following years, I watched everyone around me until I could finally do it. So yeah, that is the heaviest downloading. That is the heaviest downloading. The earliest, that is the heaviest downloading and the heaviest downloading and the heaviest downloading. So perhaps it is, but we can actually change it. But I don't think it's necessarily right to change it, but I think it's definitely important to update it. Update it. It's not worth walking around like kids. We're not kids, we're adults. But not just that. We do this kind of stuff, we're conscious adults. So we can and should take it into our hand to evaluate our values. Should definitely evaluate our values and evaluate our values regularly. For example, I want you guys to all ask a question. What's the purpose in coming tonight? You don't have to answer it out loud, but ask yourself, what's the purpose coming tonight? Good. Let's get that. I don't know what your purposes were, but you had a purpose to come here. Let's do it. And then before you go to a session, ask, what's the purpose? I said this a long time ago for our coaches. If you're going to a networking event, or if you're going out to meet people, ask, what's the purpose? What's my purpose? This is a great one for pulling out values. And I know I'm saying, what's your purpose, like level 1 purpose? But what's the purpose in going to the networking event? So could anyone give me, it doesn't have to be the truth, but what was the purpose in coming today? Anyone? What was the purpose coming today?
I can say my purpose is
yeah.
to listen you, because you are a good teacher and you know how to express things in different way. It is different than what we
I'm
are
hearing
reading in
some
the book.
beliefs here. I'm hearing beliefs here. Cool. Thanks, Darko.
Yes.
I'm hearing beliefs here. And what's the underlying value from that you get being in an environment with people learning
Of
and
course,
sharing?
yes.
What's the value there? What's the feeling? What does it allow you to feel when you're in these environments?
I feel good when I'm here.
Sometimes I would go to network marketing, like a networking marketing event, and I would ask myself, what's the purpose? Well, I'm here to get business. I'm here to meet people. Yeah. Now, I might consider, what's important? I'm meeting people, networking. Okay, that gives me a particular level. That's okay. That's intentionality, asking for what purpose and being intentional with what we do. Yeah. Yeah, so our values can change. We have a video somewhere where we put our values in the middle and we do a values update change. Another thing about values is we sometimes see values in a hierarchy. Remember, we see values in a hierarchy, but it's not actually a hierarchy. What's important to you in life, or what's important to you about life? Sorry, what's important to you about your career? What's important to you about? If we ask people what's important about that, you'll get an answer. So I want you just to think about that for a moment. What's important to you about a career? Just think about that question. What's important to you about a career? And then ask the question, what's important in a career? What's important in a career? Notice the difference. What's important about a career? So when we talk about a career, it feels different to You know what's important in career. Yeah.
I want to share, Adrian. There is in chat, Lady Positive says, I came to listen and understand what the small shift is that can create a big change in my life.
Wonderful, thank you. We got a slide coming up that you really want to see. And then you can copy it and we'll put it up there. Well, one way we create change is by listening to the language. Listening where people are at, you know. So my client might not say they have a problem with their value, but people are talking to themselves and people say to themselves, I'm not good enough. You know? We might call that imposter syndrome. We might. Or people think to themselves, I think I might be, am I screwing, am I sabotaging myself? You know, when people say these things to you or we say them, we can kind of look and go, okay, where is that at? Now, in a previous session, Chris Collingwood spoke about strategies of genius. One of the strategies for genius is chunking up and down. Yeah. So let's take a car. I have a 2018 Subaru Outback. We can chunk down on that and get more specific. It's red, it's there. We can chunk up on that. It's a car, it's a Subaru. We can chunk up higher. It's a form of transportation. Einstein said you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. Yeah. Now, when I talk about a problem with my car, I'm going to be talking about it on a particular level. And I might be stuck at that level. So what you can do is you can take me up to a higher logical level. What about a different car? What about taking a motorbike today? What about taking a bus? What about changing cars? Yeah. Or you can get down in specific. What specifically is wrong with the car? What specifically do you want to do about what's wrong with the car? This being able to get into the specifics and up to a higher level of abstraction is a strategy of genius. Geniuses are kind of able to track levels and go up and down these levels with ease. Elon Musk, when making the Tesla, he would often chunk down to the smallest bolt. And some people think what he's doing is crazy. And then you see a bigger time scale. And he's doing spaceships to Mars, a combination of Tesla, SpaceX, and, you know, Starlink. He has a master plan and he gets down into the details. He has a level of going up and down with genius ability. That's a strategy of genius, chunking up and chunking down. Neurological levels enables us to chunk up and down. Make sense? Is that a bit of new light for you? So this is how we do, this is how we can place strategies of genius as a coach, therapist, or a leader by getting good at this model.
Adrian, Steven Zhang in chat says proper boss and opportunities.
Nice. Okay, now I have a client here in Townsville, and he has a purpose, and his purpose is the business, and he is growing the business. And I go to his business, and I talk with some of his staff. His staff have their own purpose. They are working there for the money, and that's okay. What he's doing is he is growing his business and he is growing his staff in the business. So his staff aren't just employees, they're purpose aligned together. And because they're purpose aligned together, they work together. When the boss isn't around, the company still goes forward. Yeah. So now this model isn't necessarily specifying what to say or what to do. It's more a matter of where. Is this an environment problem, purpose level? And it's okay. You don't have to be exactly in. I added the chakra elements as well, the yoga elements. I thought that was. Now, I'd like to share an actual big problem, procrastination. Take the procrastination pattern. Procrastination pattern can manifest in many ways. Maybe people catch themselves as a procrastinator and they go, I'm a procrastinator, you know, and they might have an identity of a procrastinator. Now, I'm not a procrastinator. I don't heavily resonate with that belief of I'm a procrastinator, but sometimes I find myself with a behavior, and my behavior is at the fridge looking for snacks instead of making the decision. So if I find myself doing the behavior a couple of times, I find myself at the fridge looking in that little drawer that says chocolate snacks, hide from Harold. If I find myself in that little cupboard in the fridge, I know I'm procrastinating. And I come back over here, okay, I'm doing the behavior, I kind of know I'm procrastinating. So the procrastination pattern, right, we might see it on any one of these levels. We might see it, we might judge it, we might feel it, we might sense it, but each level plays into the next. Now on the far left, we've got our neurological levels, and next to that, we've got the effects going down. So procrastination can, at a purpose level, losing sight of purpose. Life feeling meaningless, yeah? Now, this can affect us going down. This can reinforce that we're not good enough or we're a procrastinator. Going down, this may lead to us prioritizing comfort over challenges. It may lead to us believing certain things. Like a procrastinator might believe they work better under pressure. It may also manifest going down into overthinking, distracting, rationalizing. It comes down into avoiding the irrelevant tasks or doing the easy tasks instead. And it creates those effects in the environment. Yeah. So sometimes we can capture the procrastination pattern. Sometimes we can capture it because Adrian is going to the chocolate fridge. Or sometimes we can catch it because our friend Brian is saying that he's procrastinating again and he really wants to make the decision on his first house, but Brian's freaking procrastinating again. And Brian's like, I'm procrastinating. I know I should buy the house. I'm just procrastinating. And it's like, okay, Brian, what's wrong? Brian's afraid to take the step. Okay. So my mate Brian, he knows he's procrastinating on a property. He's just struggling to do it. Great. He might just need fear. Whereas he's me, at the other hand, I was at the fridge. I was just recognizing my behavior. I'm at the chocolate cupboard. And then I have to come over here and go, what am I procrastinating on? Yeah. Okay, now I just shared with you the effects flowing downwards. The effects also flow up. You know, I've got a lot of chaos and a lot of distraction in my environment. I'm not going to be able to function well. If my kids leave stuff everywhere, as soon as my kids leave, they tidy up their stuff because I can't handle that chaos. That chaos distracts me and makes it harder for me to do what I want to do. When I'm trying to do the right behavior, if I'm trying to act a certain way and be a good man, if my kids have hidden my runners, it's going to make walking a pain in the arse. If I can't get to my yoga mats, yeah. So if my environment gets set up, my behavior can follow. Sometimes with our behavior, I got down there, we end up missing deadlines. Obviously, instead, we got to step up and do harder to reach them. Capabilities, you know, if we are procrastinating, we've got that chaotic environment, we are doing the behavior of avoiding, we will start getting weak with ourselves. We will start getting weaker with our decisions. We'll start being weaker with our goals. And maybe we start to get more limiting beliefs. Maybe I'm not worthy of my goals. My values are all compromised. Maybe I should change my values now and just settle for a job. Oh, I did have a dream. I dreamed of a really cool identity for myself, but I wasn't able to do it because I was such a procrastinator. I'm not good enough again. Purpose in life. I can't even make decisions. I don't have a life direction. I feel unfulfilled and stuck. So shit flows downhill. But as Darko pointed out, the hill can get flipped around. Problems flow up and problems flow down. As above, so below. As above, so below. That's with our problems and also our solutions. Solutions can be above or below, and they can flow. Solutions generally do flow up and down, just like the problems do. Yeah. In fact, maybe the problems are solutions. Maybe the solutions are problems. Okay, if anyone particularly wants these graphics here, we can share them afterwards. So I made this one. It doesn't quite fit in the screen, but this is a bit of the top-down transformation. This is when I became a coach. I know a couple of people here are starting to become coaches, but when I became a coach, I felt a calling with my purpose. Being a coach, I felt called to something bigger. I wanted to make a difference. See, I had a purpose about making something bigger, and having a job wasn't. Having a job wouldn't fill my purpose. So instead of having a job, I had to start a business, a coaching business. I had to step into the identity of a coach. I had to imagine what a coach was like. I didn't even know what a coach was like at the start. I had to hang out with one or two coaches and find out what a coach was like. And I had a brief mental image of what a coach looked like. And I imagined myself as a coach. Particularly like the coach because it really fit in with my values, you know. It allowed me to grow and contribute. I had some of the beliefs. More importantly, I had the belief that it was worth pursuing, and I had the belief that I could do it. So with the purpose that it was worthy and the purpose that I could, I looked deeper and found that I actually can do this. I started developing more and more powerful beliefs. I started to develop more powerful beliefs. If you want to do anything, lose weight, make more money, find a greater love, got to believe you can. So even though I was lacking emotional intelligence, and probably still am, I keep going because I believe and I have the capabilities to learn. So with the coaching, it just became a matter of being around the right people with the right beliefs. Capabilities come from the training. From the training, I took constant action. I took the day-to-day. I did coaching. I worked daily. I became a coach, and I set up my supportive environment. The environment around me was a 3-bedroom apartment in just south of Chintendi, and we set up the Motivate community so we can do sessions and workshops and get those people around me. I ran out there and got clients. Whether I do yoga or somatic therapy or any kind of training, I generally go to get a couple of clients straight away. Yeah. Okay, so you can see how these layers overlap. And you can see how they flow from one good one to another. Darko, please, and chat window, I think we had something.
Yes, we keep in chat windows. Lady Positive ask, do you have any recommendations for places to study to be a divorce coach?
A divorce coach?
Divorce coach, yes.
Oh, awesome. A little NLP over coaching. And then once you have the NLP, you want to look for divorce coaching models. very much the same advice I would give to executive coach or a business coach or a life coach. Do the NLP first, NLP, and then more coach-specific training. Reason being, coaching relies purely on conversation, and it has to be like an open conversation dialogue between two people that helps the other person raise up, finding the skills and attributes inside of themselves. Yeah. So to do successful coaching, you need to be a master with conversation and actually the neurological levels. So if you just learn the NLP, neurological levels, and the NLP stuff up and down, when you actually do the coaching, you'll actually understand what it all is and how it works, and you'll be able to do it like a piece of cake. If you learn the coaching first, well, you've got this limited box, a limited box where you're trying to make big results. I'd rather try to get results. Don't limit yourself to a coaching framework. So divorce coaching, you could call it, and another way you could do that would be, instead of divorce coaching, divorce expert. What's a divorce expert? Well, divorce expert covers everything: coaching, mentoring. I even help people get lawyers, new accounts, get back on their feet. I've got therapists. I do therapy, I do coaching, but I've got this whole suite. So you can be a divorce expert rather than a divorce coach. A divorce expert who can do the coaching, but can also just save you a fortune. So imagine, instead of being a divorce coach, I tell you straight up, I'll save you a ton of money. Is it worthwhile we have a call? I'll save you a ton of money. Yes, it is. So we have a call. I can explain to you that we can do 5 or 6 calls, or a call a week, or a call a fortnight, and set it up like coaching. But as a divorce expert, you can also add in a bunch of other services.
Great
You can
answer.
do that.
There is one more question from Stella. She asked how to put up faith in life.
How to
put up faith in life.
Great, stay with us. I got it. Stella, do you have a business? She does. Stella, I want you to go through this. I'll see if I can put it in the chat window, okay? I think a few of us could really benefit from going through this. I set this up in terms of business coaching worksheet. Okay, let's see if I can bring this up in the window. Okay, so what I just shared, Harold, Jay, any other coach in the room, just please just tune into this part here. What I've shared in the chat window and what I'm sharing here is a worksheet I think we should really do for ourselves, answering Stella's question and also answering a bit of Jay and I. Situational change, and I know it's a bit relevant for Harold as well, and perhaps for Darko, but see, I have, like perhaps some of you, I have a bit of a business around my identity where I can kind of separate myself and go, Adrian does coaching and some other things, right? And he's developed a profile over the years. So there's the Adrian that's right here, and there's the Adrian that's the business, and they're both true. But the Adrian that's a business, if I separate myself a bit and talk about Adrian and about Adrian's purpose, it is really good to answer these questions on this sheet about that Adrian. So I'm going to be asking these questions on Adrian the coach, Adrian the trainer, and get more alignment in there, because Adrian the person that's here has changed. I've sold my house, finalized a divorce, I finished the course, whatever it was, I've changed. But the Adrian that I was before with the reputation, the friends, he needs to complete this business coaching questions. Does that make sense? Yeah. I, as a person, am doing all right, but Adrian, the six-figure coach, is definitely not being a six-figure coach at the moment. I'm doing like 5 sessions a week. It's like relaxing, but I need to reevaluate. And the way I'm reevaluating that is through this. And I was thinking, if you look at some of the first couple of questions in here, why does this business exist beyond making money? Ask yourself that for a coach. You're becoming a coach or you're doing a therapy. What are we here to create or contribute? So you can print this out, and I want you guys to really consider printing this out and going through it later. If you want to copy for yourself, if you want to modify this, and I can give you the chat GPT link, and you can get in and make your own. This has used my material, so I had to use my material and study and help me with this. But yeah, these questions here, like, why does this Adrian or this Jay or this person that I created in society, why does this person exist beyond making money? What are we here to contribute? What problem do we genuinely care about solving? Now, notice that a lot of us jump towards solving a problem. But do we genuinely care about that problem? What problems do we like? What's the point of it all anyway? So later on, for anyone that works as a divorce expert or a divorce coach or a life coach or a trainer, I like to consider doing these business coaching questions for yourself. Being on purpose is a wonderful feeling. When you walk down the street and you go to see your friend, you're going to see your friend. When you're on purpose, life is clearer, life can be wonderful. But if you're not on purpose, you can be roaming around loosely, and that can be okay. And if it's okay for you, great. But if you want a bit more purpose, answer some of these questions. If you want to be a bit more certain in who you are as an individual or who you're going to become next, do a few questions in there. You might find that questions in some areas may lead you to a lot more thought. May. So in this worksheet, a whole bunch of questions in each category to have you thinking more about your purpose, your identity, your values, your beliefs, your capabilities, your behavior, and your environment. And I do give permission for the coaches in the room to copy this and make it your own. Now, if I was to be a divorce coach, I would actually be pretty tempted to say, hey, Adrian, can I get that code and change it to divorce coach? It would be nice to have something like this for your coaching niche. And I just want to share if you are a member of the ICF or the International Coaching Federation, they use a similar level, ICF, MCC, PCC, ACC. And the levels kind of look at a deeper level transformational change, being the master or the beginner or the associate level coach, more the environmental change. Okay, Now, I like to go towards Jay or Harold and see if you guys would like to discuss or focus on a strategy or a client that's causing you grief or something you're into yourself regarding any of these levels.
Adrian, I think the client I need to look after is myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Number one, and when you're feeling great about yourself, you're a great dude, and you do amazing miracles for everyone. And all you gotta do is be feeling good about yourself, Jay, and the rest happens, hey?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's interesting. This last probably 2 weeks, procrastination and avoidance has really hit me. And I know it, but I've not had a mechanism to work with myself to start to look at. And I've just started tonight to get some insight into what's behind it. So obviously there's an issue which I was going to talk to you when I see you next week. But so
issue or opportunity?
What? Sorry?
Did you say issue or opportunity?
No. I said I was going to talk to you next week.
Oh, okay.
But so just an interesting one that no matter how much work I've done on it, there is still the trigger or the actual issue is still there as a trigger for procrastination. So it's actually a deep. The realization I've had is how deep that issue is ingrained, and I've been papered over it, not a problem for ages, but it's a bit of a shock that it's come back and to find what actually is the issue of this procrastination that's come back again. So I'm happy to do some work if you want to, but I was, yeah.
No, we'll do it when you get here. But if you like, if I could just ask, is it happening differently this time? What's different about it this time? You haven't necessarily share it, but what's different about the procrastination?
Not sure. I'm still in the stage of investigation because I've actually just overcome one of the blocks and dealt with it. So I've finally got enough, what's the word, motivation or pressure to actually do it. So everything's quite good, but it's intriguing. And tonight, that's what I was a bit late getting to it, but anyhow. So
I was imagining you and I, and just for the rest of the audience, Jay and I just sold a house recently, so we were like homeowners or not kind of thing, and that's been a bit of a big deal. So there's been a bit of life changes. When there's a bit of a life change, things change, and it's like, well, things are different, and this model can be really useful. So Jay can later check out this model and ask a few of those questions, and maybe it sheds a little light on something. And
quite
awareness.
I think the house sale is part of it, so it's an interesting one. And I did just want to stimulate what Lady Positive said about divorce coach is very interesting because my experience of dealing with that again over the last 12 months has been quite interesting. But I think it's different for Australia. There's issues differently to what there would be in other countries. So, and I just wanted to say that I can see that this chunking process would work so well because there's so many different levels that I've seen happening as well. So the humanistic side plus the actual practical side. So there's different levels. So I really think applying this to the divorce coaching process would be very interesting. And I've offered to help with my perspective for setting it up. So I just a bit intrigued, quietly taking it all in. Great, thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, I just shared in the chat window another file that you want to print out, and I'll share this in full screen here as well. So guys, and those that haven't, this is why I still talk about NLP, even though it's been like, I don't know, 16, 18 years since I just first found it. It's because we got solutions at every level. Every level we have different patterns and ways to change. It's not always solve, you know, because a lot of problems are actually features. Yeah, problems can be features and features can be problems, right? Labeling and frames can change, but with our NLP, we have the ability to change on every level and make interventions on numerous levels. So in this chart here, which is a bit too small and sharp to get through, but we've got a couple of interventions and solutions for every single level in there. And that's why I prefer the chunking up to, rather than being a divorce coach or a business coach, more important going in there as an expert. Someone that understands the whole field. And yes, I have expertise in coaching, and I also understand the bigger picture, the technicalities, how to launch court documents, where you can get good accountants, where you can get a private investigator if you need, you know, all this other value you can add. Where the divorce coach should be one-on-one conversations. Now, the divorce coach, by the way, typical men and women divorcing in Australia might spend a huge amount of money on lawyers, and divorce coaches, I think, have a great direct impact. So instead of you and your partner spending, you know, $50,000 or $100,000 each and upwards on law and causing trauma, needing years of therapy for your kids, how about you try a few sessions of coaching? Come to me, I'm your divorce expert. We'll do a couple of coaching sessions, and you might find that maybe just one coaching session a fortnight or one every 2 or 3 weeks might mean that the bill will come right down, and I'll show you how. Boom, let's start divorce coaching, you know, and give a little demonstration. Show a couple of testimonies. These people did some of my coaching. This is the amount of money they saved. Now, if people actually see that you can save them thousands of dollars, then your fees become insignificant. Package together a bit of extra value, like knowing these people and your experience, and then your coaching comes through. You deliver coaching, which ends up being work, you know, basically your coaching ends up being $200, $300, $400 for a couple of sessions. But if it ends up being, you know, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months of support through the divorce process, with all the extra support, it can be kind of lucrative because the person's already going to spend tons of money and you are saving them money along the whole way. So it is quite lucrative in a good area to be that divorce strategizer. Now, you can, rather than divorce, which can be unpleasant, let's say you're a lifestyle or you help someone when they get retrenched or divorced from their work, or when someone becomes a parent. Parent coach, parent expert, same pattern. Instead of just doing a parent coach, you can also parent mentor, parent lead, parent teach, parent manage. Introduce a few other things, introduce a bigger connection, and you know what will be awesome? We will meet up every 2 weeks. We get together, we do a one-on-one private consult. We see where your greatest problems are as a parent, and we'll get and do this thing called coaching, and we'll fine-tune to help you be an excellent parent. See the same pattern? Yeah. Now, of course, if you take this neurological levels of purpose, identity, values, beliefs, capability, you can also target all this in your marketing. In your marketing, how do you get your clients? Well, in your marketing, let's say your client is Bob and Betty. So Bob and Betty are your clients. What's their purpose? Use this as a sheet to understand Bob and Betty. What's Bob and Betty's purpose? Well, the purpose is they hate each other. They want to separate and they want to live their own purpose. Yeah. What are their identities? We can go through this model with our customers, and perhaps we can actually find through this, we can find other products to serve them. If we take our clients through this, we might be able to come with other add-on values. You can use chat like I have, take some of your old information and make workbooks. You can make workbooks for behavior. You can make workbooks for identity. You have a niche. Your niche can be divorce. Your niche can be middle-aged men going through divorce. Your niche could be 50-year-old expatriates starting a new career. All right. So breakthrough pattern. We can find breakthroughs. We can find ways to change any problem. Remembering you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. So if you're having a problem, look for a solution the level above or the level below. So many different ways to work this. I feel like this in front of us is a massive, gigantic map that's been shrunk to fit on a screen.
Yeah, Adrian, what you showed us is very, very, very amazing. So all these slides, I cannot really read everything because it's a little bit small on the screen.
Yeah.
But I think also this breakthrough patterns and to chunk up and chunk down, I think this is very interesting. And also to combine it with ICF training. I think this is really, really amazing and a different approach.
Well, Howard, around the start of NLP, when we first taught this, we said to people to print out this pyramid. Are we taking it to a whole new level here?
Yeah.
Got questions for each level.
That's really amazing.
Now, Harold and Jay, you guys were able to get the files off the computer pretty easily, weren't you?
Yeah. Download
Okay, I'm going to put 3 in there right now. 3.
Always
This is what
quite
we work
well.
on. This is what I've been working on the last 2 days. One of these is for executive coaching. This is specifically for working for an executive, someone that's like a CTO or a CFO having a bit of a challenge. The business, can you see on the screen business coach? Okay, so I'll just stop the screen share.
It's still downloading or still loading.
Yeah. I've uploaded 3 worksheets. One is specifically for executive coach. CTO, CFO, someone a high level in a team, someone that works with Hewlett and Packard or something, right? That's the executive coach. Then there's a business coach version. The business coach version is for a small business owner or a medium-sized business owner. And then there's a relationship coaching one, which is excellent for couples to do together. So there's 3 different ones: executive coach, business coach, relationship coach. If we were to change them now, if we were to change it to a divorce coach, wouldn't quite be right. I don't know the field and I don't have the expertise in divorce coaching. I haven't done it. Well, actually, I have done it. So I could use what I know and I could make some adjustments for divorce coaching. It wouldn't be that hard. So if anyone does want to do divorce coaching or run another niche through it, I'll happily share it with you guys. And yeah, I think 1 or 2 of these might be really good printed out in full size on the wall, or keep it there with you for a week or 2 to understand it. You can also use this when selling your package. Like Jay sits down with a man and says, by the way, this is just a bit of a rough plan. And in his rough plan, he might have a couple of things that, you know, he works with some men who are used to some processes. So he might write a couple of notes over it. And then, you know, when he works with someone, or before he works with someone, he's able to say, look, I can do this, 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 I can do this. This is what you've seen me do. This is the stuff you haven't seen me do. Yeah. I found, and we did these workshops a long time ago, starting a coaching business. But I really feel it was worthwhile to have a couple of worksheets that when a coaching client starts, they go through and they put in their details and they spend 20 minutes going through a document, writing a few things or doing it and bringing it to your session. If you make a couple of worksheets, you can copy worksheets from our portfolio. But if you copy 5 or 6 worksheets, get ChatGPT to make them look the similar format, so it looks like you've made them all. You can use ChatGPT, copy, paste, but don't just copy, paste, copy, and then make it your own a bit. Make it your own, use your words, use your style a little bit. And then when someone starts with you, you know, you can have this as one of your first pages. Have a vision board or something as another one and have someone else's vision board. And say, some people really like vision boards like this, but this is what we do. Now, you got to make the vision board, have your client create a bit of a vision for themselves. Attach these two together, your neurological levels, all the stuff you can do with them to help them get that. And then that's what you work on in your coming months. I've got a great client, and a lot of our sessions, we are talking about like beliefs and capabilities. But when we finish our coaching sessions, we often actually go back up to our purpose. It's a really nice way to finish coaching sessions. Like, we've done great today. We're moving towards our bigger picture. We're moving towards our purpose. Great. Another thing I might do at the end of the coaching session might actually be the kind of the exact opposite. Great, now we've been through the session, just want to double check. What's the next thing you're doing? What's the next small step? Great, what's the next small step? And when people know the next small step, they can move. Once we have the small step, we can generally find another small step. But maybe we procrastinate because we have the brains to go, hang on, where are we actually going to? Maybe I better check before I walk too far away. When you're navigating at sea or air, if you're off just 1 degree off, over a few nautical miles or 100 miles or 1,000 miles, that little nautical off makes a huge difference. So sometimes we're procrastinating and questioning ourselves for a very good reason. Be good and gentle with yourself. Otherwise, I don't know, do you reckon people just run, and it's not till they get to an older age they realize how far off they are? The gap's gotten huge. Guilty. Sometimes I've gone too far, and after so many years, I'm like, oh God, the distance got so far. If only I thought about it a bit more at the beginning. Oh well.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.